Welcome to Comic Wars, where every night is fight night. We analyze the data, and at the end, during the outcome, we break it all down for you. Well, let's get right down to business. So, we don't have any guests tonight, which is fine. So we don't have to deal with any intros or any guest guesses. And you guys are all welcome to go and take as many guesses as you guys would like. Let's get that up in the chat. Let's see what you guys think. But after we go through the guest intros and guesses, which we aren't tonight, then we go over the background details, which is basically where we break down how these characters tick, who they are, what they do for a living, what their personality is like, maybe little tidbits here and there about miscellaneous information, who they're related to, maybe an experience they've dealt with, things like that, just to give you a little more information about themselves. After that, then we get into the feats. Now this is where we analyze, well, I guess this isn't the analysis process, or at least not that part of the show. But we do go over their greatest strength feats, speed and agility, durability, what kinds of gadgets they might bring, what kind of martial arts, what kind of powers, how their battle tactics are. We break all of that down here. We show their best off. After that, then we get into the data analysis. Now, this is where we break the data down. Now, you will find that watching Comic Wars, especially with several of the previous episodes, we do a lot of the data analysis in the feeds. I like to get a lot of the footwork out of the way, just that way when it comes to data analysis, we don't have as much to go and cover. So that way it kind of melds all into one, but the ones I want to focus on, I can focus on. Just their biggest feats. What do we need to know? Say, for instance, maybe a character was strong enough to literally shatter an entire car, turn it to dust, right? But when they're punching people, they can't always shatter them. Why is that? We break this down. Maybe they're able to dodge a specific type of weapon specifically. Maybe it's a specific range that matters. There's a lot of different things we can break down here, but their biggest feats, this is generally where we break them down. This is going to usually be kind of a key identifier what their biggest strengths and weaknesses are. After that, then we get into the character pros and cons. This is where we kind of go over the matchup. How we show the characters how they kind of match up against each other. Maybe they got something that's a huge weakness, a glaring weakness. We need to outline this here. How's it going to fare in this battle here? Just breaking it down, data against data. After that, then we get into the guest analysis. Once again, we don't have a guest tonight, so we're not going to be dealing with that. And then we get into the outcome, which is where we detail who would win in a fight. Who would win? And we're not just talking any fight. We are talking in a fight to the death. Who would win in that ultimate showdown? And why? What are the odds they would lose that fight? What are the odds they would win that fight? We break this down and we show exactly why. We go over the scenario. What's going to cause the win? What's going to cause the loss? What kind of scenarios it would go and cause the opponent? Maybe the opponent loses, or one of the fighters loses. Why do they lose? Is it a specific terrain? Is it a specific humidity? There's all sorts of different factors that can go into this. That's where we go over this. And of course, there's always a little special surprise at the very end with a preview of the next episode. So let's jump right in. Our first combatant hails from Crowverse Comics, soon to be Crowverse Entertainment. My company. But this is Steam Tech. Real name is Franklin Cleveland. He is age 24. He's about 5 foot 2 inches tall, and he weighs 110 pounds. This is with his prosthetics, mind you. His occupation, well, he's the CEO of Steam Tech Enterprises. He's an inventor. He's the one who started his company of Steam Tech Enterprises from the ground up. He quickly rose through the ranks of Rain City, making millions. He's not quite to the point of billionaire, but he's just about underneath there. But he's very philanthropic. So he does a lot of things for Rain City and Emerald City, where his second location is located at. We'll get more into that in a little bit. But he's also a self-proclaimed, quote, citizen hero, end quote. He doesn't like the term superhero. He doesn't like the term vigilante. He doesn't even like the term costume activist. He doesn't even like just to be just necessarily called a hero, per se. He likes to really emphasize he's just no different than any other average Joe. But how far from the truth that really is, well, he doesn't like to go and show that off. Gives you a little sense of humility, if you will, a little bit of a humbleness, but at the same time, kind of that side of egotism, I suppose. As for his area's operation, well, he only operates in 2 locations currently, and that is Rain City and Emerald City. Now, these 2 locations, as we've explained in previous episodes, Rain City is equivalent to, it's more or less a parody / fictional version of Portland, Oregon. And Emerald City, as its name implies, is a parody / fictional version of Seattle. As for his personality, well, he's highly intelligent and far above just an average genius. Far, far above. He's extremely analytical. Not just tactically, but he analyzes every situation. And it doesn't help that he's got a computer that's also talking to him as well. So he's always constantly going. There's always something he's doing. And he's always got something he's planning for. Would there be stocks? Who's he going to invest in now? Which company is going to be the best company? He's got a computer, an AI, that helps him set this up. Helps him think, if you will. Let's think like that second voice a person might hear in their head, or when one thinks to themselves. Similar, except imagine if this is something that has the equivalent of an eidetic memory, and just it stores data, which is attached to a cloud. All that data, it far expands the human mind to a certain degree, especially when your cloud, it's got a giant data processing center, all dedicated just to that. The things money can buy. But he also prefers to think logic and rationality first. Basically, he says, forget the feelings. We don't need to worry about this here. We need to think logically and rationally. What is going to go and get us ahead? What is going to get us through this situation that might be difficult? Maybe it's going to be very troubling. Maybe it's going to be traumatizing. Trauma doesn't affect him the same way. A lot of these things don't affect him the same way. They can, but they often don't for this reason. As for some miscellaneous information, well, he did go to high school with Daniel Parker and his friends, but was only friends with Antonio Rolfe, and this is due to his participation in the robotics club, and he was a coder. And this is just as an incoming freshman while he was a senior, outgoing. Keep in mind, he's running a business at the same time he's going to high school too, so this is pretty crazy. The fact that he's able to go and do all these clubs and then still invent things. The guy just goes and doesn't stop. But keep in mind, Daniel Parker and his friends, we're looking at Crow, Wolf, Debug, and Captain Yum Yum. But on top of that, he's also an Army veteran. And he was also a prisoner of war. Shortly after high school, well, right after high school, he was already on the way into becoming a soldier. Now, he didn't want to use his mind. He wanted to actually do something with his body. He wanted to, and keep in mind, this is all shortly after 9/11, because 9/11 did occur in the Crowverse. But he felt the urge, the need to go and fight for his country is what he thought. He found out the hard way all the dangers and all the other secrets that were also hiding behind this. That soon turned to some nasty emotions. But he was captured by the Locust Gang, which is equivalent to like ISIS or Al Qaeda in the Crowverse. They're considered a gang because they do have gang ties in Rain City and in Emerald City and throughout the United States in the Crowverse. But they are tied directly to terrorist organizations overseas. But he did escape with the help of his sergeant and was able to make it back home. Of course, he didn't make it out unscathed. He lost an eye, he lost an arm, and he lost a leg. Not to mention, like I said, he does deal with trauma, but he'll deal with it in a different manner. His is more focused on improving oneself, on not allowing that type of situation to occur again, taking all the steps necessary. You'd think with his type of mind he'd be the perfect soldier. However, he wasn't always in the best shape, really. In fact, we really can't say he's really anything above an average Joe when it comes to that. Hence why he likes to be called a citizen hero. But enough of just about his background. Let's take a look into his feats. So what does he offer in combat? Well, he gets strength feats. He's an average human male when it comes to his physical strength with his body. But his prosthetics are far above peak human strength. And this is through the use of pneumatic systems. Now, he has specially custom-made pneumatic systems. In fact, it's one that he invented. So it's not big and bulky. It's not super heavy. It's very durable. It's very light. It's very mobile. But his arm, his leg, they do far more than what a normal human body could even offer at peak. That should say something about this. As for his durability, well, he has a nanotech shield that is strong enough to withstand automatic gunfire. Keep in mind that it comes from his left arm, which is, you can see right there, that's a little, looks like a watch. That's where all the nanobots are. They all come together very quickly, and they can make a shield. Now, they can be disrupted by things, and keep this in mind. They can be disrupted through high amounts of electricity. They can fry the circuitry. They can fry the little bots. But they also come together with electricity. They can fry them, but keep this in mind. I want to go make this very clear. His nanotech is also capable of a lot of self-repair, if you will. It can't do it all the time, and it depends on how bad the damage is, but if the damage isn't too great, it can repair. If it's too high of a voltage, it can just completely destroy it. And so those little bots that were destroyed, well, they're not coming back. Which means the shield's not going to be at its full potential. But he's only got it for a shield. That's all he's got his nanotech for, really. Kind of. Because when you look at his speed and agility, you're going to see that he's got one other piece of nanotech, which goes into, it comes from his leg, his prosthetic leg, his left leg, which is his flight plate. Now, this is where his speed really shines here. Franklin's been able to fly from Rain City, keep in mind, Portland to Emerald City, which is Seattle. You look at that distance, and he was able to make it from Rain City to Emerald City in roughly 1 hour, which calculates out to about 173 miles per hour. That's how fast he can go, and this includes in combat. He can get on this flight plate and go that fast. However, during that hour of using this, Steam Tech's system was about out of power when he arrived at his destination. So he had to go and get back in and recharge. As for some combat capabilities, well, when it comes to his martial prowess, he's just got modern army combatives, which is going to include submissions, grappling, arm and leg strikes, and weapons training, primarily firearms. And we're looking more at the rifles, and we're looking at handguns. He was just a regular soldier. Just a regular grunt. That's all he was. He wasn't anything, nothing high ranking. He just joined in. He wanted to go and fight the fight. That was it. So that was his training for martial prowess. So he's not really... He's above the average Joe. Could he fight the average Joe and easily probably topple him? Yeah. Depends on a few factors, but yes, he probably could. Pretty easily. And then if you include his prosthetics and his gadgets, yeah, he could take on the average Joe like easily. Not even trying. Blink of an eye. Probably even faster. As for his ingenuity, well, he uses tactics he learned from his military training and combat experience from escaping the Locust Gang's prison camp in Iraq. Now, keep in mind, these guys, their POWs, their camps, they were just like locusts. They were a plague. There was tons, hundreds, and in some, in case of Franklin's here, thousands at this prison camp. And him and his sergeant, and a couple other soldiers, were able to fight their way out and actually escape. Taking on thousands, just like a few guys. And he was also one of the contributing factors on the way out because of his tactics. Once again, this is where he shines. So what else does he bring into combat here? Now we get into his gadgets. So he's got his computer eye with carbon fiber plating. It's a prosthetic eye that has been perfectly attached to allow the user to see normally. It also has access to an AI assistant and has hacking capabilities and a targeting system. Yes, he can lock on. We are talking almost straight up Z targeting. For those that are Nintendo nerds, of course, you're welcome. But it's connected to the user's programmable gadgets as well, so you'll see what the rest of his gadgets come. So just think about the targeting system when you look at the programmable gadgets. As for his prosthetic arm, well, it's carbon fiber with silver plating. You'll understand why in a second. And it's also equipped with taser plating, which is the silver plating. The user can move a strong electrical current through the silver plating. Now, I never really detailed because he's capable of about 120,000 or so volts of constantly just going through. It doesn't really drain his power too great. It does drain it, but not like his flight plate. And that lasts an hour, and he was almost fully drained. So this doesn't really do a whole lot. This is pretty minor. So he's got constant, and if you look, they go through all of his plating. It's not just through his prosthetics either. Keep in mind, his gauntlet over there, he's also got it there. His chest plate, it's got it there. His suit, it's actually got the plating, but his prosthetic arm, this is where the power comes from. He also came equipped with a flamethrower. Yes, you heard me correctly, a flamethrower. He's got about a 7 to 8 foot-ish range, depending on which way the wind's going, of course. And it fires and he can also capable of firing miniature rubber bullets from his fingertips. This is only from his prosthetic arm. He can literally fire little miniature, and we're talking tiny little rubber bullets from his fingertips. So think much like how riot police have their rubber bullets they can fire, their beanbag guns, things like this. Think like that, but he can fire it at will from his hand. It's also got a 6-inch steel forearm blade, which can also be electrified along with the silver plating. However, he doesn't necessarily have to go and electrify it either. He doesn't have to. More often than not, I would assume he probably would, though, right? And he's also got... Now, this is supposed to not be on his prosthetic arm. This is supposed to be on his left arm. Okay, so that's what comes out of the watch. It's attached to the gauntlet. It's a little bracelet, if you will, but it's built into the gauntlet. But he's got his 30-inch diameter nanotech plate shield. Okay. After that, then we get into his prosthetic leg, which is his prosthetic left leg. It's carbon fiber with silver plating, just like the rest of his prosthetics. Well, except for his eye. He's got a kneecap plastique explosive. He can literally pull the kneecap off. It's a detachable kneecap, but it's a plastique underneath. So you can pull that out and he can stick that on something if he really wanted to. Once again, it's attached to his AI. He can literally set it off at any time he wants. He's also got sonic kicks. When the user kicks, the prosthetic leg can emit an incredibly high decibel scream, if you will. Think kind of like Black Canary. Think that'd be the best way I can describe it. Think kind of like Black Canary. And there's sonic screamers. He can do that with a kick. And it flows from the kick's direction, and it goes through the arch, however you want to look at it. He also comes equipped with some taser plating. The user can move a strong electrical current through the prosthetic's silver plating. And he's also got his nanotech flight plate, which he can quite literally surf through the air while going extremely fast. And last but not least, this is a huge thing to some degree. His AI is capable of being hacked, but Franklin will be notified of foreign users attempting to break through, allowing him a small window to stop intruders. Now this is on the go. His AI will notify him, and he can literally do that just doing things through his... Yeah, he can literally just, as the AI is doing stuff, his eye movement, he can do all sorts of things with that to essentially do whatever he needs to do. When it comes down to it, he can literally just speak, and he knows exactly that. That's how he can go and he can speak code, if you will. And that's how he can go and he can hack back or counter hack, if you will. He's also capable, this is the part I should have put down, not his prosthetic, but his left arm, that gauntlet, it interacts directly with his, I really should have put this in there, but it interacts with his user interface of his right eye, which he can then use that to type in a, what's it called? It's like a VR type of keyboard. So if he wants to, he can just go and type away. Now he's capable of using his prosthetic to type as well, but that's where the keyboard, that's where it comes from. It comes right out and it goes right underneath, so that way he can type, but his right arm can also be used for it as well. So as he's flying around, he could be counter-hacking just instantly. Such a joy. But with a high enough voltage, it is possible to also overload Franklin's tech. Now, it would be temporary, because once again, his technology is a little different. You can't quite fry everything, especially not the eye, obviously, connects to the nerves, connects into the body, so yes, you could kill him with enough voltage, especially since it's highly conductive. But there's that, of course. You don't want him flying around in a lightning storm. That would not be good. What about his opponent? Well, we got Nightwing from DC Comics, from the Batman, former Robin. His real name is Richard Dick Grayson. He's 25 years old. He's approximately 5 foot 10 inches tall, 175 pounds. His occupation, well, he's a bartender, also an agent of Spiral, and he's a vigilante. His areas of operation include Gotham City and Bloodhaven. As for his personality, he's witty, analytical, intelligent, charismatic, and he jokes a ton. Quite annoying most of the time, actually. Kind of like Deadpool. We're not going to get into that, though. As for some miscellaneous information, well, he's the adoptive son of Bruce Wayne, who's also known as Batman, adoptive brother of Damian Wayne, which is Robin, the current Robin. Jason Todd, who's now Red Hood, and not Time Drake, but Tim Drake, which is the Red Robin. Court of Owls also wanted him to be a Talon. Now, this says a whole lot because a Talon is somebody that's capable of even fighting Batman. And if you look at their top Talon, that was actually able to fight Batman to a standstill, practically. And on top of that, he also took on the mantle of Batman for a short time during Batman's gallivanting through time and space. And this is all thanks to Darkseid's Omega Beams, but that's neither here nor there, because he didn't have to deal with it. Batman did. He took on the title of or mantle of Batman in his absence just to keep criminals scared. Really kept a lot of order around Gotham. But people quickly found out, and it's a big old battle for the mantle, and yada, yada, yada. But he still won. That's all that matters. He was number one contender as Batman. But what else does he bring to combat here? Well, for his strength feats, I'm just going to give you guys a warning. When it comes to his feats, he's got a ton of them. Strength feats. Well, he possesses enough strength to break a holographic construct Bane's back. We're talking not just holographic. This is hard light. So this is not quite the same, but similar. But he was able to break Bane's back. He also threw KG Beast, who is 231 pounds, through a concrete wall. He was capable of throwing a refrigerator roughly anywhere between 100 and 400 pounds with exerted effort. Capable of damaging Blockbuster, who has extremely enhanced durability. Can easily lift a man. Average human American male is roughly about 200 pounds. And he can easily lift them with one hand, mind you. Strong enough to punch people through stone walls. Smash through a sheet of ice from underwater. Threw a 280-pound man across a room. Can bench press 350 pounds. Broke Bane's back. Broke a car window while the car was submerged underwater. Takes 24,000 PSI. I should tell you something. This guy hits hard. On top of that, he was he held back the 19,000 PSI bite force of an orca and is capable of breaking through a man's leg made of titanium. All those things right there, quite ridiculous. As for his durability, well, he can tolerate large amounts of pain far greater than average humans. Highly resistant to toxins, not that there's any toxins here. Capable of holding his breath for up to 7 minutes. Possesses endurance similar to Batman. Capable of surviving attacks from Blockbuster, same guy that he was able to damage. He can take the hits from. And this guy's got superhuman strength as well. Capable of taking bullet wounds and continues to fight. Broke a car window. Oh, I already said that. I already said that too. He is capable of enduring high temperatures from fire. Not for too long, but he can. As for some speed and agility, he's capable of detecting a sniper. Just, oh, this is where you're at. Okay. Can dodge several rapid gunfire bullets at mid and point blank range. So he survives automatic gunfire. He can dodge them. Ooh. Trained to have peak human speed and is capable of sprinting speeds of approximately 30 miles per hour. Now, keep this in mind. Usain Bolt has maxed out at roughly 28 miles per hour. So he goes faster than Usain Bolt. And he's just capable of sprinting speeds of approximately 30 miles an hour. That's not his max. Keep that in mind. Fast enough to tag a reserved flash. This is a flash that's holding back. Keep that in mind. That's what it means by reserved. And is quick enough to dodge a kick from Jesse Quick, who is a speedster who's comparable to Wally West and the Flash. Not at max speed, she doesn't compare that fast, but she is a speedster, so she goes incredibly fast. We're talking past the speed of sound. And he's quick enough to be able to dodge a kick from her. That's something. Due to Batman's training, he has senses that are so acute that he can effortlessly move around and even fight while blindfolded. Pretty intense. You can see this is already looking very interesting. As for his combat capabilities, essentially what we're going to do here, we're going to go and list all of his martial arts, his training he's had. Lots of it too. Has mastered Eskrima, Aikido, Savate, Muay Thai, Boxing, Capoeira, Kendo, Taekwondo, Jeet Kune Do, Bojutsu, Hapkido, Ninjutsu, which technically there's parts about ninjutsu. It's not what you think it is. It's not literally the art of I'm a ninja. No, it's not quite that. There's some skills in there, but it's not what you see in the movies, kids. Tai Chi, Jiu-Jitsu, Judo, Kenpo, Wing Chun, Krav Maga, and Kobudo. He's also a master marksman with firearms and throwing weapons. He's ricocheted his Eskrima sticks 37 times before returning to him. Keep in mind when you look at how kinetic force works. As it goes, it starts losing energy from the time it's going. From the time it starts, it's already losing energy. And he was able to do that 37 times. When it hits something, it greatly reduces it. So that should tell you how hard he's throwing and how fast it's going. He's also a master swordsman, has beaten Batman, Talon, and Midnighter in 1-versus-1 combat. Now, does not mean a Batman that is trying to kill him. Batman trying to kill anybody is basically Death Wish. Just saying. Impressed Lady Shiva with his fighting skill, and that's because he has a fluid and acrobatic fighting style. Keep that in mind when it comes into this combat here. As for his ingenuity, his tactical analytic skills allow him to anticipate opponents, including Batman, who trained him. He was able to remain undetected by Alfred Pennyworth, Batgirl, Red Hood, and Red Robin in the Batcave of all places. And he has an eidetic memory, also known as a photographic memory. So once you do something, he's going to remember it. Fool him once, shame on him. Try to fool him a second time, shame on you. So now you're beaten. That's basically how that breaks down. You combine that with tactical analytics skills, this is quite dangerous. Well, now let's get into his gadgets. Now that we've got past his feats, let's get into his gadgets, right? So we got the Nightwing suit, which is Nomex triple weave Kevlar suit that is electrically insulated, that is wired to give a 150,000 volt shock through the gloves. It's only a one-time use. You can only give that one time, remember that. He's also got a domino mask on, which can track the GPS coordinates of a cell phone, has thermal vision, can detect radio waves, and is capable of giving a detailed analysis of scenes and fights. Additionally, it also has the ability to refract light around the wearer's head to artificially alter their appearance. He's got a very special little domino mask. As for his gauntlets, he can shoot remote bombs, has a sonic device for ear dampeners included, so that way he can... It's a sonic device. So, Sonic Scream, they both got it. But he's also got ear dampeners. He's also got arm blades, taser knuckles, and can fire a grapple line from his gauntlets. Next, he's got the spiral implants, which are implanted into his body. So first, we got the Hypnos. Enables user to hypnotize others. Keep this in mind. This is very, very, very much programming, or deprogramming, if you will, in some cases. So, keep that in mind. However, it can cause a two-way brain scramble if misused. He's also got identity protection. Makes the user's face unable to be captured by surveillance cameras or a person's memory. So you'll never remember his face. And here's the rest of his gadgets. You got the Screama Sticks, which can be combined to make him bow staff. But it's also got the capability to electrify at 50,000 volts. It's got grapple lines and smoke bombs as well. He's also got dulled wingdings. Keep in mind these wingdings are nothing more than just batarangs, but set up to look more like his domino. He's got ultrasonic wingdings, explosive wingdings, electric wingdings, smoke pellets, grapple gun, flares, brass knuckles, lockpicks, and wrist darts. Whew, comes with a lot of stuff. As for his weaknesses and annoyances, well, he's been driven insane because he was revived in Lazarus Pit. So his insanity is there. That can say a whole lot. Well, now this is where I would say, okay, well, data analysis time, but really, we don't need to because everything is broken down. So what do we got going on here? We got the character pros and cons. That's what. So, we're looking at this. We have nothing in the background that's going to go and provide us with a great deal of information that's going to be a key to maybe any kind of advantage in combat here. So, let's get into the strength feats. When you look at strength capabilities, Steam Tech, with his prosthetics, would have greater feats of strength. However, when it comes down to striking force, that doesn't necessarily mean, oh, well, you got more muscles, you strike harder. That's not always the case. That comes down to technique. Well, he doesn't have the technique. This is where you have to combine some things here. So overall strength with his limbs, his two limbs, he would have a greater strength feat. This is where we have to split it up a little bit here. Okay, so overall, his strength is just normal strength in his prosthetics. He wins. In his prosthetics, however, or his prosthetics, he wins. His normal, average human bodies or body parts, he loses. But then when you come to Strike Force isn't going to win. So his actual strength feat is really only going to come down to if he was locked in combat, like he was able to go and grab onto Nightwing. He could do some serious damage. It's not something Nightwing's going to easily be able to. He can't use his strength against him. Essentially, he'd have to use that with Strike Force. Okay, so this is where it breaks up into 3 parts here. When it comes to SteamTech's just body by itself, he loses hands down in strength, whether it be Strike Force or actual physical strength. When it comes to prosthetics versus Nightwing's body, his prosthetics are stronger. But when it comes to actually striking, he does not win at all. That comes down to Nightwing. Unfortunately, this is like a double plus for Nightwing. As for durability, now this is where things take an interesting turn. SteamTech can go and literally tank with his shield. He can tank automatic gunfire. Nightwing can take gunshot wounds and keep fighting. So when you break it down, his suit also is bullet resistant. So when it comes down to durability, Nightwing wins. It's just a hands down. For speed and agility, well, speed, Nightwing can't move up to 173 miles an hour at all. He can get up, he's so far able to get to 30 miles an hour, so he loses. So it's just overall speed that easily trumped by, like, we're talking double plus. He's got that huge of an advantage against Nightwing in overall speed, just moving around. When it comes down to his agility, though, he doesn't really have anything there. And this is where he loses out to a huge degree. And this is where Nightwing pulls ahead with another. He just outranks him on just such a massive level. 2 pluses for him. As for martial arts, that's a given. That's Nightwing. When it comes to ingenuity, though, now this is where one might assume, okay, well, it's going to be Nightwing. He's got the eidetic memory. He's been trained by Batman. Except it's not 100% there. When it comes to analytical skill, 2 minds are better than 1. Just because the AI is there, that's going to it's going to give SteamTech a huge advantage when it comes to ingenuity. Not to mention, it's got access to a giant server. So as the fight is going on, it's recording the whole thing. All that data is being recorded and analyzed, and the AI is going to be rapidly doing this at even a speed that even Nightwing could not keep up with. So, comes down to ingenuity. It's going to go in SteamTech's favor, but it's not a great feat over him. As for gadgets, they're about evenly matched, and I'll explain. SteamTech's gadgets actually give him his advantages overall. The only advantage he's actually got over Nightwing. Other than that, he doesn't have any advantages besides his ingenuity. Now, even without the AI, he's already able to keep up. There's no doubt about that. He can keep up with Nightwing. He can't beat him, though. Now, that's because he doesn't have an eidetic memory. He can forget things. But he's got the AI. Now that, I would even argue, quadruple, at least, the capabilities of his mind. So if he's keeping up, if there's going to be areas where the AI it doesn't know enough about, well, this is where experience comes in hand. Nightwing's more experienced in combat. So, the experience versus the capabilities of, okay, well, I can read all these things. I've got an eidetic memory, on one side, then I can read all this, and I've got two different things going at it. I can constantly get this data analyzed. It doesn't keep up because the eidetic memory and experience, he's able to go and fight against guys that are tech genius as well. He's fought the Riddler, for crying out loud, who's a tech genius. He's fought Mad Hatter. He's fought these guys. He's fought Toyman. I mean, he's fought all sorts of different guys that use robotics and all sorts of advanced technology, and he's been able to win. So Steam Tech wouldn't be too much different on that sense, but when it comes to his ingenuity, he's not going to be able to trump Steam Tech. But on top of that, his gadgets are about the same. You look at them. So we're going to go take a look at the gadgets. So, got the prosthetic leg, whoops. You got the computer eye, you got the hacking capabilities and targeting system. Now that's where it plays in. So those rubber bullets, he's going to be able to shoot them, but it's rubber bullets. They're going to be able to hit, and he might feel them, but it's not going to be enough. Plus he's got the forearm blade. Well, Nightwing's got two. He's also got the nanotech shield. And he's got a flamethrower. Well, the flamethrower, it's not going to do anything against his suit anyways. Plus, on top of that, he's got the resistance against it anyways. The taser plating could affect him. But once again, if he were to go and play that as that's his way to win, and Nightwing gets a hold of him, he can overload him. So there's that. You got the prosthetic leg, kneecap plastique would be a good one, but he's also got the sonic kicks, which that's where you can use essentially the sonic device constantly. Just he could just keep kicking with his right or his left leg, and he can keep all these different like sonic attacks going. Now this, if anybody knows anything about a sonic attack, when you're looking at the likes of characters that have those sonic attacks, the sound waves from their voice, the sonic waves, if you will, they're able to physically rip things apart and destroy things. He's capable of doing it with his leg. So even with the air dampening device, he's still able to kick him around at a distance. It says something. Plus he's got his nanotech flight plate, which also comes from his prosthetic. So he has to be careful. He could do this from a high, he could be flying at him and just make it even worse. But by doing that, he's also risk flying through some of it and hurting himself as well. So take this into consideration. He could go and get some pretty risky attacks in, and they could be devastating. And, whoops. And last but not least, we got to go and take a look at the rest of Nightwing's gadgets. You look at his domino mask. I mean, this doesn't have an AI, but could he hack it? Well, you look at everything it's capable of. Gives a detailed analysis of scenes and fights, which means it has an AI. This tells you right there it's got a computer system built in. He could hack it and shut it off. Meaning he loses the thermal vision. He can no longer detect radio waves, and he can't get the detailed analysis of scenes and fights. He can make it so that way it's no longer able to refract the light around the wearer's head and artificially alter their appearance. He can't track the GPS. So you can see where this goes. He can shut down his suit. He could shut down his implants. Okay, because Hypnos enables the user to hypnotize out others. Good luck on doing that to Steam Tech. It won't work. He's going to be able to shoot that right back at him. That's how powerful this is here. So Hypnos doesn't work. His identity protection won't work. So now he's already shot down a lot of his tech is already now shot down. But is it really all about tech is the question here. But we're not done analyzing all this tech. We have to finish analyzing his tech. So you get the rest of his tech, his Eskrima sticks, they'll still be able to electrify. He's got all his wingdings and all this. Now it comes down to physicality versus his tech. He shuts down his tech. That's directly what Steam Tech does. He goes, your tech doesn't work. I've got some of your tech will still work, but not all of it. And then you got his insanity. But whose gadgets really win? Well, if one side's gadgets shut the other side's down, and the other's capable of shutting the others down, if they're able to use things like, for instance, the electrical or the explosives and able to go and destroy some of the tech, then yes. And he's also an expert marksman. So really, when it comes down to tech itself, Nightwing's side of winning isn't the tech itself. It's his own ingenuity. So what we're really looking at, the Steam Tech wins on gadgets. That's a double plus. That's where he relies on. He can shut down everything Nightwing's got except for his base gadgets, but even then, he's got ways to kind of nullify some of it. Alright, well, let's break this down. So who wins? Who wins this fight and why? Now, I'm going to give you guys a couple seconds to kind of guess. Who do you think wins at this point? Steam Tech or Nightwing? TikTok, people. TikTok. Alrighty. Let's break this down. When it comes to strength, who wins? Nightwing. When it comes to durability, who wins? Nightwing. Comes to speed and agility. This is where they both have a win. One is going to be movement, another one is going to be, or who can close the distance the fastest, or who can get away the fastest and get at a distance. While the other is going to be who can track the other one the best, just by reaction speed, and then who's going to be able to avoid attacks the fastest. So movement's going to go to Steam Tech, but your evasiveness, your reaction time, all that's going to go down to Nightwing. Now let's get into martial arts. Martial prowess, who wins? Well, that's hands down Nightwing. Comes to ingenuity, that is going to be Steam Tech. As for gadgets, that's hands down Steam Tech. This fight, surprisingly, is close. But ultimately, Nightwing would emerge victorious. Now, we'll break down why. His chances of winning would roughly be about a 60%. Might seem, well, wait, what? This guy's lacking combat experience. Nightwing just trumps him on that. Nightwing can close his distance pretty quick, but he cannot close it or increase the distance as fast as Steam Tech. Now, if there was any tech around that can be manipulated and hacked, could be controlled, now you've all of a sudden, especially with robotics, depends on where they're fighting as well. But if you've got that stuff, Steam Tech can now control it. He can use it to his will. Now it's a tool of him. And he doesn't necessarily have to be super close. He's got an AI. He can go and get into the signals. He can go in, and he'll have already hacked Nightwing. At this point, Nightwing's gadgets don't work. The minute you put him in those situations, Nightwing loses. His training will be enough to kind of hold his own, but it would come down to a battle of endurance. And when you have such a disadvantage at that point, and the distance is so far, that's where Nightwing would lose. However, most of those situations wouldn't occur. And I'll explain. You put them in an area no tech at all. Throw them in a combat arena where it's enclosed. Nightwing's going to be able to get to him. And he's going to have the gadgets. You throw them in Gotham City, same thing. Doesn't make a difference. Even if it's in Rain City. Nightwing would be able to go, and he would be able to get him pretty close. Now, this ultimately would require the only chance that Nightwing would lose in is if Steam Tech were able to get a hold of, let's say, some of Batman's mech tech if you will. If he gets a hold of any of that stuff, or he gets a hold of any of the robotic kind of villains or things like this, any of the tech like that, he could use it against him. But that's really his only opportunity. Now, even if you say, okay, that's allowed, well, it's not like we have a Mazo going around here. A fully powered Mazo would be the only thing they would really have against Nightwing in that instance. There's not really a whole lot he can do. Nightwing's been able to time and time prove constantly that even if there's a lot of tech, he can still make it through his training. Now, this is ultimately where it comes out about he's got a 10% or 20% chance over Steam Tech. 60% of the time he wins, and this is why. It's through his training, his combat durability, how hard he hits, how fast he can close a distance still. Steam Tech would ultimately have to run away and pull in everything he could from his environment. But if there's nothing there or there's not enough, then he loses. Now, there's going to be instances, for instance, if they're in like a robotics lab, that, or if he's got a Mazo around, or a Mazos, then yes, then you've got Nightwing losing pretty horribly, but the battles would have to be pretty extreme, and it would come down to things like that. So, for tonight's Comic War, we're looking at Nightwing is the winner. As for Friday night's battle, we've got Crow versus Alpha Man. Ooh, this will be a good one since they never officially fought in the comics yet. Let's see how this